Hello, everyone. This is Philip _ coming to you with another interview for the Budpass podcast, powered by SimploPro. Wanted to focus on wellness and also the overall health and benefits of cannabis. And I have the pleasure of speaking with Zalikah, who is a martial arts and yoga instructor as well as a cannabis advocate. So thank you, Zalikah, for being here. She's going to be able to tell more about her story, her career journey, her personal connection to cannabis, and overall why she is an advocate and also potentially moving to activism within cannabis. So thank you, Zalikah, for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Phil, for having me and inviting me on this platform. I'm definitely grateful to you and what you all are doing in your state because it's needed. We need more and more people to get into the breaking of the stigma of that's surrounded by the plant.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you do. I mean, it's a collective. We all are doing and making our own kind of strides with awareness and also being able to integrate cannabis in different areas of our lives. And you've been able to really do that. Not only for other people, but also within your own personal journey. So I just wanted to maybe start with just kind of getting to know a little bit more about you, like where are you from and kind of how'd you get started within cannabis advocacy?
So I am in the DMV area. I grew up in Maryland and DC collectively, as a lot of us did. So for me, growing up, the plant, of course, was seen as a gateway drug. You know, we had all the DARE programs. So I initially was turned away from the plant, you know, because you have to be the good child.
Right.
And part of breaking that stigma is educating that this is not a drug. It's a plant and it can be used and consumed for a variety of different reasons. Medicinally, the plant fibers can be used as far as textiles and just a plethora of other things. I've seen shoes made from hemp fibers. I've seen cotton blends with hemp fibers in it to make the clothing more sustainable. So I really would like more people to be involved in learning the other benefits of the plant, not just the recreational smoking to just feel good. That's definitely a benefit of the plant, but there's more to it. So as I got into my teenage years, I did experiment with the plant, and I found that it made me feel better. I didn't understand at the time what it was doing because I didn't really understand at the time what was going on with me. And then as I got even older, I came to realize that I do have social anxiety. And at the time I was going through a really deep depression. And that's why every time I consumed, I felt better because those chemical imbalances were being attended to by this plant, because we have an endocannabinoid system within us. And a lot of people don't know that there's endocannabinoid system within certain animals and certain plants.
Can you give a little explanation of what that term means, just for those that are new to it?
Endocannabinoid is like a nerve system within your own body. So it means that there are receptors naturally in our body to receive the chemical compounds from the cannabis plant.
Wow.
So it's like one of my mentors used to refer to CBD as correcting bodily dysfunctions, because it's like it goes into your system, finds where your inflammation is, finds where your pain is, finds where your chemical imbalance is, and attaches it to and attaches to that situation and helps correct the imbalance or help ease the pain that come into that part of your body.
Okay. Wow. So cannabis is, I almost want to say, is made for you, but you're actually made for cannabis to a
Yeah.
degree, right?
Yes. Because it's almost as as much of a variety of humans that are out here in the world. There's a variety of cannabis strain cultivars. We're trying to move away from using the word strains to the word cultivars. So cultivars are referring to the makeup of that certain plant. So what people would be saying before, oh, sativa, hybrid, indica. Now we want to refer to, just what type of terpenes does the plant have? And
Yeah.
the terpenes is the more chemical breakdown. And you find terpenes in all types of plants. That's why some people have allergies to certain plants versus not having an allergy.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm becoming more and more educated about myself, because I would just, go to a dispensary or go to the underground and try to find my cultivar, something that popped out to me, and I would just always smell. And I'm not sure how many other women have dealt with this in cannabis industry, but this has been my experience. Going up and assessing the cultivar in my own way, people would question, oh, do you really know what you're doing? You really, do you really even smoke? Or oh, you're not trying to get high because you're picking this, or you're doing it that way. It's not about getting high.
Right. Yeah. It's not about being out of it, it's about, for many people, just using it as a way to be functional, to address certain areas and issues, and to still be able to do other things, not necessarily always to kind of, be in the moment and be high. So absolutely. Yeah.
Nobody wants to be stuck. And then they, all those commercials in the past, everybody's seen that commercial where the girl is like sucked into the couch and they're like,
Or the fried egg, right?
Or the fried egg. Not every experience is like that. And you have to, it's not a cure-all also. A lot of people think that it's a cure-all. It's not a cure-all. It's like any other herbal remedy or medicinal plant that you use. It's something that you incorporate into your daily regimen or weekly regimen until your body builds up a better system working with the plant. So after college, I got into martial arts by taking on a tutoring job at a aftercare.
Okay.
And I really loved my students. They wanted me to help them with their martial arts. And I was like, well, I can't, because I'm not, okay, so I'm doing it now. So I always loved it. I always wanted to try it anyway. Grew up watching old kung fu movies with my dad and boxing matches and stuff like that. So it was always an interest of mine, but I never actually pursued it. So when I got the chance to pursue it, I went ahead and pursued it. And I loved it. I excelled at it. And then unfortunately, I got into a car accident that caused an injury to my back. So I was in physical therapy for quite some time, and for about 8 months, I couldn't move my body the way that I needed to move it. Like I had to have my partner at the time help push me up in the morning so I could just get out of the bed. I couldn't sit for long periods of time. I couldn't stand for long periods of time. I couldn't even have my father hug me because he's a big jolly guy and he gives those big bear hugs. It was just so unbearable, the pressure. And my partner at the time had suggested that maybe I start looking into edibles.
Okay.
And also at that time, because I was pretty much at the height of, well, I don't want to say the height because I'm not trying to stunt myself. I still have a long life to live, but I was, I was, getting to my peak there with my martial arts training, and um, I started to kind of get back into a depression because I couldn't move my body the way I wanted to. I had to, take break from practice, and that was really helpful to my mental health as well because of the discipline of martial arts. So I started to look into edibles, but I was like, well, I've already started to cut like a lot of sugar out of my diet. I don't want to be eating Rice Krispie treats, 3-4 times a day.
Right. Brownies and
then my sugar goes up.
Right.
My sugar level goes up. We can't play with that. Black people, we cannot play with our sugar levels.
Right. Who doesn't know someone with diabetes, type 1, type 2, and all of that? Yeah. Yeah.
So I started looking into like just other cultures and how they dealt with the plant. And so I saw, tea recipes and more savory meals and stuff like that. So and smoothies and juicing. So I was like, okay, well, I can do that. I already juice and do smoothies anyway. So incorporating cannabis into my meals, and then also using cannabis topicals, and then eventually getting into RSO. RSO is Rick Simpson oil. It's not like tincture. Tincture is also made with alcohol, but because Rick Simpson's oil is made with alcohol, but tincture is a little more loose. RSO oil is a little thicker, so the absorption rate is a little bit different, and the potency is a little bit different. So for potency reasons, I was taking RSO under sublingually, so under the tongue. So all of those different ways of me using cannabis in conjunction with then taking up yoga, because some of the stretches that they were having me do in my physical therapy, they told me that were derived from yoga, and they suggested to me maybe you should look more into that for your at home practice in between sessions. So I started looking into that and just realized that this little coupling of cannabis use and yoga opened up a whole new world for me as far as my healing. It was, I want to say maybe less than 2 months after I started doing my yoga practice daily and being consistent about my cannabis consumption. So I was even actually cutting back on smoking a little bit, like with blunts, because it's not the healthiest way to consume, because you're igniting the plant and you get more benefits from it if you do it in like a bong or not a purifier, not a humidifier. Oh, what is the thing called? I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. What does it look like? A bowl, a bubbler?
A water pipe. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It's a water pipe. So it's another thing is a steam chalice. I haven't used the chalice yet. That's something that was shown to me by some Rastafarian friends of mine, and because that's a whole other world. They really break down just the healthiest ways to
Mhm.
use the plant.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that I'm trying to expand into as well, is just really finding the healthiest ways to consume the plant to receive the optimal benefits from it.
Because at least with the other forms, they oxidize. There's more of a purification because it goes through water in most
Mhm.
cases, and so you're not inhaling all of the potentially stuff that will get burnt up. You're not putting that in your lungs. So
Mhm.
absolutely, yeah.
Like, and I've even done small changes, like I won't use a lighter as much. I'll use a hemp wick to light my J's or light my bong or bowl. So you're not inhaling the butane from the lighter fluid.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just small little things and changes and details like that that really change your experience with as far as consumption.
Okay. Wow.
Um,
Hmm.
so all of that was really eye-opening to me. And then um, this past year with the quarantine, I um was fortunate enough to cross paths with uh, the CEO of a cannabis group out in Long Beach, California, the Cannabis Babes.
Okay.
So she reached out to me because she saw like one of my yoga posts, and she was like, "I would love to have you on my live show." So I went on, and we just connected, hit it off right away, and that jump started my journey into um, being a cannabis advocate. Um, because with the Cannabis Babes, we really focused on equality within the cannabis community. We try to focus in on brands that are being conscious about their choices,
Hmm.
um, and highlighting them so that consumers can start making better choices about who they choose to support and what
Right.
brands to recommend to shops to include,
Hmm.
especially the small businesses, the Black and brown businesses that are really having a hard time um, breaking into this legal community
Right.
because of because of all the legality of it, all the paperwork, all of the funding issues, the lack of resources, the lack of education, the
Yeah.
lack of people willing to sit down and talk with these small businesses that may have run for years on end um, in the underground market, um, or maybe they're trying to break into the cannabis industry through the CBD aspect, and just don't know exactly how to communicate their ideas, how to get their
Hmm.
ideas down and established, and
Right.
then like you said, the funding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so we really spend a lot of time trying to reach out, educate people, connecting people to the resources that they need, and marketing.
Yeah.
Um, and we don't charge an arm and a leg for the marketing. A lot of the stuff we don't charge for actually, um, because it giving back to this community means so much
Right.
to all of us.
Now let me just to kind of take in what you shared, because you touched on your experience with cannabis kind of as you grew into it, and then from
Mhm.
there, I mean, you said that of course you experimented, but then getting into martial arts, then having a injury from an accident, and then being able to utilize cannabis in a way to where you were able to find a really um, nice level. And of course, it's evolving in terms of your use, but at least making sure that during that time you were able to utilize cannabis in a way that was beneficial to you and your health. And then you married that with your health and wellness aspects, getting into yoga And so it's really great how things kind of come into play full circle. And then, as you mentioned, now you're connected with the Cannabis Babes. And so forming a community as a woman of color, as a woman within the cannabis industry, and also building those ties and those connections is fantastic. I also want to touch on a little bit more about what you do within the industry as well, because you do some really amazing stuff with the pairing of the health and wellness with yoga and also with cannabis too.
So currently I am leading a once a week elevated sesh. So in my elevated sesh, that's Fridays, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a virtual sesh. What I go over in the sesh is I talk about different, my favorite different medicinal herbs and how I include that not just into my daily regimen, but how I include that to enhance my physical practice.
Okay.
So we open up with a nice warming talk. I'm also trying to create a safe space for people to release because especially in the Black community, therapy is not one of those things that has been positively promoted.
Right.
So a lot of people, it's been more openly talked about now, with especially with this past year, and that's wonderful. But there's still people out there that are still apprehensive about, opening up and sharing their experiences and connecting with others that have those experiences and learning how to work past them. So that's another reason for my classes, creating a safe space. We take a moment to let things go, talk about some medicinal herbs. I choose a different herb each week. And then we move into a nice gentle flow, and elevate or not, that's totally up to you. And we just have a great time.
Sounds fantastic.
And I was nervous about doing it at first, because I thought maybe some people would think, oh, you guys are just getting high and doing all crazy weird stuff. Like, no, it's not. It's a conscious consumption. It's really thinking about, wait, why do I feel like I need to consume right now? What is it that I'm trying to allow the plant to help me with? Because I feel like a lot of us that have consumed consistently for a number of years, it's important for us to stop and take a second and reevaluate our relationship with the plant so that it doesn't become the drug that the industry and the government is trying to make it out to be.
Yeah, especially
because anything can become a drug. You get addicted to it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, it's in the addiction to food, how we perceive cigarettes and alcohol as acceptable in comparison to the damage that it does, to comparison to how, people act when they're under the influence of alcohol, and on and on and on. But again, as you mentioned, it's all about what's been socialized for us to see as acceptable, and what is, been taught for us not to do is taboo. You're a this, you're a that if you do it. Even when it comes to employment, especially, that's so ingrained into people just trying to, move up and move through. I know personally some professional folks that work in Nevada, and of course it's legalized in terms of recreational there, but they still have, for certain companies, they can still drug test you, which is, ridiculous because why am I being tested for something that's legal? You're not testing someone for drinking alcohol or having a drink last night. So it's again kind of the hope that people have for certain things, until from a corporate standpoint, people are able to make money from it and pounce in on kind of the open market and make it there. So a lot of things in terms of using cannabis, the re-education about it is so essential for people's awareness, especially as they use it for their own health and for their own enjoyment. And as you mentioned, finding out which cannabis or companies, as well as product providers that are inclusive, that are local, that are supporting communities, that are diverse, that really are realizing how the criminal justice system has been such a detrimental thing to the overall market that's been shaped and built by Black and brown bodies, just for other individuals with the money and influence to be able to take advantage of that. So
exactly.
didn't mean to get on a soapbox.
Oh no. We are beating the same drum. Yes. No, that is exactly right. That's why it's important. Again, just education. People can start breaking the stigma at such a local level. And I don't even mean reaching out to your government yet. Talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, get out, and if you happen to see somebody smoking a cigarette, hey, talk to them. Like, hey, you know what? There's something better out here for you than that cigarette.
And it isn't as dangerous as smoking cigarettes and, and harmful. So, yeah. And I want to just take a minute to shift back, because you mentioned about how you self-educated yourself on a lot of different methodologies and awareness about cannabis. Did you, were there any other areas that you utilized to learn? Were there any people that kind of helped you, taught you, or were you all about kind of learning for yourself?
Well, so the learning for myself thing actually started because it was like there was still such this stigma. So me being someone who worked with kids and very closely in the educational field, it was questionable that I wanted to learn more about cannabis, So I kind of had to keep my research on a hush for a little while, until I realized, like, I'm doing a disservice to myself, and I'm also doing a disservice to the people I'm supposed to reach out to. Like, I knew at that time that I was supposed to eventually start using my voice for something. I just didn't know what exactly that something was. And I'm feeling like this is it. Just really educating and helping to educate. After I gained more confidence, I actually started just looking up influencers that I felt looked like or represented my situation. Being a young woman, being a minority woman, being a minority, being someone who lives in a state that is, not as liberal as far as cannabis and stuff like that. So a big educational boost for me was getting involved in cannabis conferences. There's one that I'm actually attending. It's a virtual. I'm attending next weekend by the Real Cannabis Entrepreneur. They're a couple-based company. Couple-based company out in New Jersey. And they're a Black couple, so their conference, they did their best to reach out to the Black and brown owned companies and brands out here, so that when people come to their conference, they're seeing, there's a diverse group here involved in the cannabis community. Like, they might not be pushed in your face all the time, in the Dope magazine or in the High Times magazine or whatever, if they're not a celebrity, but they're around and they're important and they're making noise, and you should listen to what they have to say, because they've gone through the muck to get the education and continuously fight every day to work towards decriminalization and work towards getting it taken down as a Schedule 1, because like you said, some people still give you a stank eye, even though it's legal, but it's still being recognized as a Schedule I drug. That's a problem,
Right.
because then people can turn around and still say, oh yeah, y'all can cry medicine and plant all day, but it's a drug because the law says it's a drug. Whatever.
Right. Right. But laws are written for one group's favor, not another at times, so absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off though, but please.
No, you're good. I was getting ready to go off.
Oh, well, I do
So
want
that's
to.
good time.
No, no. I think it may kind of lead us into our next question because, as a woman of color, with all our different intersections, coming into an industry, in most industries we come in as minorities, depending on gender and so on. Have there been any challenges for you, especially as you kind of evolved in this holistic, mindfulness healing space within cannabis?
My experience as a woman and a Black woman in the cannabis industry, it has gotten better.
Okay.
I did try to break into the cannabis industry a few years ago, back in maybe 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like, and I'm small, I'm real young in the face.
Okay.
So I would go to these events sometimes and men would just absolutely either talk down at me, or my words went in one ear and out the other, and they were trying to get in my pants. And it's like, that's not what I'm here for.
Right.
Like, I'm not here to hop on your lap, and I'm not here to hop in your pocket. I'm here to receive some information. Can you answer my questions? If you can't answer my questions, just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me this run around and try to talk down to me, or try to make it seem like I'm not intelligent enough to understand what you're saying.
Right.
If I'm asking you, then it means I'm taking the first step towards understanding, because I'm trying to be open to receive the information. Right.
Yeah.
So that I worked through, because it was also a confidence thing and learning boundaries. And so when you have more confidence and you walk with more confidence, people are less likely to play games with you.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Kind of like, and I think to some degree, hopefully, we all kind of go through that realization about how we allow people to treat us, even though there's some things that we can't always control, right. But really it starts from how we treat ourselves. And often that's going to be mirrored and reflected. So it's good that you haven't let those experiences pull back your confidence, rather it's helped you to make your confidence stronger, to help to shut that down whenever you experience it.
And my advice would be and not just to women, anyone, if you are trying to break into the cannabis field and maybe you feel like your local circles or local groups are not elevating you to a level that you feel that you should be elevated, start your own little group. Do your own research, reach out to people beyond your local, reach out to people that aren't in your state. Because it's unfortunate, but I find that strangers are a little more eager to help you than people that you grew up around sometimes.
That can often be a surprise. Absolutely. But it kind of goes around the board with where you find your support group from. Sometimes the people that you're related to, grew up with, are just that. They're people that you end up being around from an environmental space. They're with you. from relative space, but you can find your clan anywhere. So it's great that you've been able to do that, especially with the Cannabis Babes and other groups too.
Yes, I'm super grateful to come across them. I just recently started another partnership with a different group called Mommies and Mary Jane.
Okay.
And I love what they're doing. We do this too with the Cannabis Babes. We do support and promote the Canna parents. That's parents who consume themselves, or parents that have children that have needs that consume.
Okay.
But Mommies and Mary Jane really, they're really building up this support system for moms, for both parents, but mainly for
Right.
mom.
Yeah.
Because there's still this stigma about moms being cannabis users, and oh, that makes them a bad mom, or how could they have drugs around their children, and da 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 da.
Sure.
And I'm like, but you can have your glass of wine.
And how many people do you see standing with their children smoking a cigarette?
Oh my gosh,
and I
that
hate
breaks my heart.
Yeah. And thank you for correcting me. I wasn't saying the Cannabis Babes, so I want to make sure I clarify that for anyone listening. The Cannabis Babes, and we'll be sure to include their links in the post too, for anyone that wants to check you out and them out as well. I do want to ask, as we kind of tie things in and wrap things up with the interview, what continues to inspire you to continue your work? Or what inspires you to continue your work? Sorry, it's the braces. But what inspires you to continue your work?
The next generation inspires me. The people that are still in the closet inspire me, because what I'm finding through this journey over this past year for me, and we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary with the Cannabis Babes yesterday.
Congrats.
So as I learn, it's like people just feel alone.
Okay.
People feel alone. So when you share your story, you might not think it reaches anybody, you might not think it inspires or sparks anything, but it does. It absolutely does. It could be the smallest thing. It could be something that person may have heard 100 times over, but because you said it in your own way, they received it. And it's like, it's just this magical, like you said, full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? I had a good point. I'm sorry. Can you
take
ask
your
the
time? No, take your time. It happens to me all the time. I got some grays in here, so don't worry about it.
Who inspires me? Yes. The next generation and people that are still in the closet inspire me because of what I said, because they need to come out and share their story.
Mm-hmm.
They have somebody that's looking to them, whether they know it or not, that it's a ripple effect. I share and inspire because I know that there's somebody out there that will share and inspire also, and
Right.
It just needs to be a continuous effect, like a pay it forward.
Okay, that's beautiful. And you're doing that right now with sharing your story. So, and that's why we have these discussions, because I've learned that every person that works in cannabis has a personal story in most cases. Everyone I've talked to has been like, this is how it helped me. This is why, the work matters to me. I had an injury. I was dealing with this. I was dealing with this medically, and nothing was solving it. And I was still in pain. And I actually took some research and started my medical journey with cannabis. And this is what I've seen as my passion. So I appreciate you for sharing your story, being vulnerable, and just talking about what your experience has been. I'm going to come to your yoga session, your lifted session this Friday is on my calendar. I can't wait. So I also want to make sure that for everyone out there that wants to learn more about you, this is going to be any open space. If you want to plug in any plugs, social media, events that you have going on, please feel free to take the floor and share.
Well, first and foremost, I like to say thank you, and you can follow me on Instagram at Kuro Lotus Yoga. That's KUROLOTUZ Yoga.
Okay.
You can also find me on the Cannabis Babes page at thecannabossbabes.com. I have my own page. It's Kuro Lotus. Click on it. You can book a private one-on-one session with me. You can RSVP for the Friday Elevated Sesh. You can take a look at our upcoming events. We just did a really awesome Black in Cannabis event all last month. We got together Black brands and designed a Black Cannabis Volume 1 box and got that promoted and shipped out to folks. There's still some available, only for pickup right now though. So only if you're in California, you can go and pick the last few boxes up. Then
and we'll include all the links in the description. So we'll have Zalikah's Instagram, the pages, the Cannabis Babes page, all that will be in the description for those that want to connect and learn more about what you have going on.
Yeah. And then I also have a Thursday morning class that I do with Mommies and Mary Jane. And you can find that on Event High to RSVP for that.
Wonderful.
I'm also doing a monthly event down at a coffee shop here in DC called Culture Coffee 2. The event is called More Than Coffee. We've partnered with a local doctor, Dr. Quarter, who Dr. Marilyn Quarter, who will come in and answer any questions that people might have about CBD specifically, and the medicinal benefits from an actual doctor who consumes herself and recommends to her own patients, because she has her own practice.
Okay.
That way people can feel like they're really getting valuable information. I'm not saying that, me saying it is not valuable, but I know people, put trust in the doctor's word. So we wanted to really bring focus around that. And also we'll be having special guests every month to come in and talk about their own specific brand or position in the cannabis industry and how that ties into what Dr. Quarter is talking about. So that is every second Saturday. We will also be streaming it on Zoom. So if you're not in the DMV area, you can still participate and be a part of it.
Oh my gosh, you are a busy lady. You got some events going on, and that is wonderful. And just for everyone, again, we'll have the links in the description of this post. So if you want to follow, join in. I'm in Chicago, so I'm going to definitely join virtually. And definitely for anyone out there in the DMV area, be sure to support Zalikah. Even if you're not, still just support. I want to thank you again for your time today, Zalikah, and taking the time to share your story, your passion, and why you do what you do within the industry. Certainly appreciate people like you that are, in it and doing it and helping to re-educate and changing the stigma and really how we look at utilizing cannabis for our own health and benefits. So I'm going to have you hang on with me for a second, but to everyone out there that watched, thank you. Please be sure to follow our pages under the Inclusive Cannabis Community, under Facebook, especially, as well as Instagram. Feel free to like, share, and comment regarding this video. We also will have this up on our YouTube platform as well. And to everyone out there, thanks again. And if you want to be on the podcast yourself and you're a cannabis professional, be sure to put pass the button in the description box and someone from our team will reach out to you. Thank you again and have a great rest of your day.